Billionaire black CEO bought an abandoned farmhouse. Weeks later, a widow lady appears at the door and says, the October morning mist clung to the rolling hills of Willow Creek, Tennessee, as Gideon Hayes stepped out of his Mercedes-Benz and surveyed the abandoned farmhouse that had just become his latest acquisition. At 36, Gideon was the youngest African-American CEO to take a technology company public, and his success with Hayes Digital Solutions had made him worth over $2 billion. But standing in front of the weathered two-story farmhouse, with its sagging porch and peeling white paint, Gideon felt something he rarely experienced in boardrooms or penthouse offices: peace. "Mr. Hayes, are you sure about this purchase?" asked his assistant, Rachel Kim, stepping carefully through the overgrown grass in her designer heels. The property inspection revealed significant structural issues, and you could buy a mansion in Nashville for what you're planning to spend on renovations. "That's exactly why I want this place, Rachel. It needs someone to believe in its potential." The farmhouse sat on 47 acres of rich Tennessee farmland, complete with a dilapidated barn, overgrown orchards, and a creek that wound through meadows that hadn't seen livestock in decades. The previous owner, according to real estate agent Dorothy Patterson, had been an elderly man named Thomas Brennan, who'd lived alone for years before passing away with no immediate family. "The property has been empty for 18 months, Dorothy explained as they walked toward the house. Mr. Brennan was something of a recluse in his final years. Neighbors say he was a kind man, but kept to himself after his wife died. Gideon climbed the front porch steps, testing each board for stability. Through the dusty windows, he could see original hardwood floors, a stone fireplace, and built-in bookshelves that spoke of a time when this house had been someone's beloved home. "What's the story with the neighbors?" Gideon asked. "Rural community. Mostly farming families who've been here for generations. They're traditional folks," Dorothy said diplomatically. Gideon understood the coded language. As a successful black businessman buying property in rural Tennessee, he was well aware of the potential for less than welcoming attitudes from some quarters. "Any issues I should know about?" "Nothing official, but you might want to introduce yourself gradually. Let people get to know you as a person rather than making assumptions based on..." Dorothy trailed off uncomfortably. "Based on the fact that I'm black and rich and probably don't belong in their neighborhood?" "I wouldn't put it that way, but some of them might." Dorothy nodded reluctantly. "Some might, but others will judge you by your character once they get to know you." 3 weeks later, Gideon had moved into a furnished apartment in nearby Franklin while overseeing the farmhouse renovation. His construction crew, led by foreman Jake Morrison, worked 6 days a week restoring the property to its former glory, while adding modern amenities. "Mr. Hayes, the foundation work is complete, and we've started on the kitchen renovation," Jake reported during their Monday morning walkthrough. "Should have the plumbing and electrical updated within 2 weeks. "Excellent work, Jake. What about the barn?" "Structurally sound once we replace the roof." "What are you planning to use it for?" "Not sure yet. Maybe a workshop, maybe just storage for now." As they discussed renovation details, a pickup truck pulled into the gravel driveway. 2 men emerged, one middle-aged with a weathered face and suspicious expression, the other younger with an overtly hostile demeanor. "That's Wade Collins and his son Brett," Jake murmured. "They farm the property adjacent to yours." Wade Collins approached with the cautious gait of someone delivering unwelcome news. "You the fellow who bought the Brennan place?" "Gideon Hayes." Gideon extended his hand, which Wade shook reluctantly. "Wade Collins, this here's my boy Brett. We farm the land that borders yours to the east." "Nice to meet you both. Beautiful country out here." "It is. Been in our family 4 generations. We knew old Tom Brennan pretty well. Good man, kept to himself mostly." Brett Collins stepped forward with barely contained aggression. "What exactly you planning to do with this place? Turn it into some kind of resort or something?" "Just restoring it as a private residence. Planning to live here myself." "Live here?" Brett's tone suggested this was an unwelcome development. "You don't look like farming folk." "I'm learning. Always wanted to try growing my own food, maybe raise some animals." Wade studied Gideon carefully. "What kind of business you in?" "Technology consulting. My company helps other businesses optimize their digital operations." "Sounds expensive." "It can be profitable, yes." "Well," Wade said after a long pause, "I guess time will tell how you fit in around here. I hope to be a good neighbor. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to ask." After the Collins men left, Jake shook his head with obvious frustration. Don't mind Brett. He's got issues with anyone who's not exactly like him. Wade's more reasonable, but set in his ways. I expected some resistance. Rural communities can be suspicious of outsiders, especially outsiders who look like me. Most folks around here are decent people. They just need time to get to know you. That evening, Gideon sat on the restored front porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. For the first time in years, he felt disconnected from the constant demands of running a tech empire, and he was surprised by how much he enjoyed the silence. His phone buzzed with a text from his business partner, Adrian Foster. Board meeting moved to Thursday. You planning to attend remotely from your farm? Gideon typed back, I'll be there. Don't worry, I haven't gone completely rural. But as he looked out over the peaceful landscape, Gideon wondered if maybe going completely rural wouldn't be such a bad thing. 2 weeks later, on a crisp November morning, Gideon was reviewing architectural plans for the barn renovation when someone knocked on his front door. He opened it to find a woman who looked to be in her early 30s, with shoulder-length blonde hair and blue eyes that held a mixture of nervousness and determination. She was beautiful in an understated way. No makeup, wearing worn jeans and a faded sweater, but with the kind of natural elegance that didn't require expensive clothes or professional styling. What struck him most was the sadness in her expression, as if she carried some profound loss. I'm sorry to bother you, she said, her voice soft but clear. I'm Lily Brennan. Thomas Brennan was my father-in-law. Of course. Please, come in. I'm Gideon Hayes. I know who you are. I've been watching the renovation from a distance. Gideon led her into the living room, which had been restored with comfortable furniture that honored the farmhouse's original character while adding modern comfort. Can I get you coffee? Water? Coffee would be lovely, thank you. As Gideon prepared coffee in the updated kitchen, he studied his visitor. Lily Brennan moved through the house with obvious familiarity, touching surfaces and examining changes with the careful attention of someone revisiting a place filled with memories. You've done beautiful work, she said as he returned with 2 steaming mugs. It looks like home again. Thank you. I tried to respect the original character while making it livable for modern life. Thomas would have approved. He loved this house, but he couldn't maintain it properly in his final years. I'm sorry for your loss. From what I've heard, he was a good man. He was. Lily's voice caught slightly. He was more of a father to me than my own father ever was. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, before Lily spoke again. Mr. Hayes, I need to tell you something about this property, something that wasn't mentioned in the sale. Gideon felt a moment of concern. What kind of something? There's a family cemetery on the back 40 acres. It's not large, maybe 20 graves dating back to the 1800s. Thomas's wife Elizabeth is buried there, along with several generations of the families who farmed this land. I wasn't aware of that. Is there a legal issue? Not exactly. But, Lily hesitated, clearly struggling with how to explain. I've been visiting Elizabeth's grave every week since she died 3 years ago. She was like a mother to me after my husband died in Afghanistan. Your husband was Thomas's son? Michael. We were married 2 years before he deployed. He was killed by an IED in his second tour. Gideon felt a wave of sympathy for this woman who'd clearly experienced profound loss. I'm so sorry. After Michael died, Thomas and Elizabeth became my family. When Elizabeth got sick with cancer, I helped care for her. She made me promise to keep visiting her grave, to make sure she wasn't forgotten. And you've been coming here for 3 years, every Sunday. Sometimes more often when I needed to talk to her about difficult things. I see. And now you're worried that I might not want you on the property? Lily's blue eyes filled with tears. I know it sounds silly, but visiting her grave is the only way I feel connected to my family anymore. My parents disowned me when I married Michael. They didn't approve of him, thought I was marrying beneath myself. Why? Michael came from a farming family. My parents wanted me to marry someone from their social circle, wealthy, established, with the right connections. Gideon understood the implications, and now they probably have strong opinions about me owning this property. My father called the purchase an unfortunate development in the neighborhood. I see. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I need to ask a favor that you have every right to refuse. What kind of favor? Would you allow me to continue visiting Elizabeth's grave? I could come at specific times when I wouldn't disturb you. I need that connection to the only family I have left. Gideon was quiet for several moments, processing Lily's story and the pain that was obvious in every word she spoke. Lily, you don't need my permission to visit your family's graves. This is your home, as much as it is mine. But it's your property now. Property ownership doesn't erase family bonds or emotional connections. Of course you can visit whenever you need to. The relief on Lily's face was immediate and profound. Thank you. You don't know how much this means to me. Actually, I think I do. Family connections are sacred, whether they're bound by blood or love. As Lily prepared to leave, she paused at the door with obvious hesitation. Mr. Hayes, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you buy this place? I mean, a successful businessman could live anywhere. Why an abandoned farmhouse in rural Tennessee? Gideon considered his honest answer. Because it felt like home the moment I saw it. Because I needed something real and grounded in my life, instead of just endless corporate success. And you're not concerned about the social challenges of being the only black property owner in this area? I'm concerned, but not deterred. I've dealt with racial prejudice my entire career. At least here, I can build something meaningful while dealing with it. It won't be easy. Some people around here have very narrow views about who belongs in their community. What about you? What are your views about who belongs here? Lily looked directly into his eyes with surprising intensity. I think anyone who treats this land and its history with respect belongs here. And from what I've seen of your renovation work, you clearly respect this place. After Lily left, Gideon found himself thinking about her story and the obvious pain she carried. He also found himself looking forward to her next visit, hoping for another chance to talk with someone who understood the emotional significance of the land he was trying to restore. That evening, his mother Evelyn called from Atlanta for their weekly check-in. How's the farmhouse renovation going, baby? Good progress. Should be completely finished within a month. And how are you adjusting to rural life? Meeting any neighbors? A few. Mixed reactions to having a successful black businessman in the neighborhood. Any problems? Nothing I can't handle. But Mom, I met someone today who made me think about what I'm really trying to build here. Oh? What kind of someone? A widow whose family has connections to this property. She's been through tremendous loss, but handles it with incredible grace. She sounds special. She is, and she's also white, which could complicate things in this community. Gideon, you've never let other people's prejudices determine your choices. Don't start now. What if pursuing a relationship with her makes life difficult for both of us? Then you deal with those difficulties together, if the relationship is worth it. The question is, do you think she's worth potential complications? Looking out at the peaceful landscape where Lily would visit her family's graves, Gideon realized he was very interested in finding out. Hello, Stop Racism family. It's so good to have you here today. Before we jump into the story, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop your country and state in the comments, and let's see how far our family stretches. Your comments mean so much to us. And honestly, they keep us going. If you like the video, leave a comment. Seriously, we need to hit at least 50 comments, and your thoughts will give us the energy to keep bringing you more stories. So, come on, share your thoughts, give us a like, and let's keep spreading positivity and change together. Your support is everything, and we can't do this without you. The following Sunday, Gideon was working in the garden, and when he saw Lily walking across the back meadow toward the small cemetery hidden among a grove of oak trees. She carried a small bouquet of wildflowers and moved with the careful reverence of someone approaching sacred ground. An hour later, as she walked back toward her car, Gideon called out from the garden, "Lily, would you like some coffee? I just made a fresh pot." She hesitated for a moment, then approached with a tentative smile. "That's very kind. I don't want to impose." "You're not imposing. I was hoping to see you again." As they sat on the renovated porch, Lily seemed more relaxed than during her first visit. The November air was crisp but comfortable, and the view of the rolling hills was spectacular in the afternoon light. "How was your visit with Elizabeth?" Gideon asked gently. "Peaceful. I told her about you, about how beautiful you've made the house look." "What did you tell her about me?" "That you're kind, that you respect this place, and that she would have liked you." "Would she have?" Elizabeth had very good instincts about people. She could see past surface differences to someone's character. Unlike some people in this community? Unfortunately, yes. But Gideon, I want you to know that not everyone around here judges people by their skin color or bank account. What do they judge people by? How they treat their neighbors, whether they keep their word, if they contribute to the community rather than just taking from it. And how am I doing so far? Well, You've been incredibly kind to a strange woman who showed up at your door asking for access to graves on your property. So I'd say you're off to a good start." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a familiar pickup truck. Wade Collins emerged, but this time he was alone and seemed less hostile than during their first meeting. "Afternoon, Hayes. Miss Lily." "Mr. Collins," both replied. "Lily, I was sorry to hear about your troubles with the bank. If there's anything Margaret and I can do to help." Lily's expression grew strained. "Thank you, Wade. I'm managing." After Wade left, Gideon noticed the change in Lily's demeanor. "Is everything all right?" "Just some financial difficulties. Nothing I can't handle." "What kind of financial difficulties?" Lily was quiet for several moments, clearly debating whether to share personal information with someone she barely knew. "My husband's medical bills from his final leave, combined with some debts Thomas accumulated in his last years. I'm working 2 jobs, but it's still tight." "What kind of work do you do?" "I'm a nurse at Franklin Medical Center 3 days a week, and I clean houses on my days off." "That's a lot of work." "It's honest work, and it keeps me busy, which helps with the grief." "Lily, can I ask you something personal?" "Sure. Why haven't you moved away from here? Started fresh somewhere else where you might have more opportunities and fewer painful memories?" "Because this is home. This land, these people, this community. It's where Michael and I plan to build our life together. Leaving would feel like abandoning him and Elizabeth, even though staying is financially difficult. Some things are more important than money." Gideon was struck by her perspective, so different from the corporate world where financial success was often the primary measure of worth. "What if there were ways to make staying here more financially viable?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if someone wanted to invest in local employment opportunities that could use your skills and experience?" "Gideon, I hope you're not offering me charity." "I'm not. I'm thinking about sustainable ways to build community connections while creating meaningful work." Before Lily could respond, her phone buzzed with a text message. As she read it, her expression grew troubled. "I have to go," she said abruptly. "One of my cleaning clients needs me to cover an emergency." "On Sunday?" "The Palmer family is hosting some important business dinner tonight, and their regular cleaning service canceled. They pay double for emergency calls." "The Palmer family?" "Richard and Patricia Palmer. They own the largest construction company in the county." Gideon recognized the name. Palmer Construction had submitted a bid for his renovation work, but their quote had been significantly higher than Jake Morrison's crew, and their attitude during the consultation had been dismissive. "Lily, before you go, would you be interested in having dinner this week? I'd like to continue our conversation." She paused, clearly torn between interest and caution. "Gideon, I should mention that having dinner with you might cause some talk in town." "What kind of talk?" "The kind of talk that happens when a white woman and a black man are seen together socially in a conservative community." "Are you concerned about that talk?" "I'm concerned about how it might affect you. You're trying to build a life here, and being associated with me might make that more difficult." "Let me worry about what affects me. Are you interested in having dinner?" "Yes," she said with a smile that transformed her entire face. "I'd like that very much. Thursday evening. I could pick you up around 6. I'd prefer to meet you somewhere. That way, if there are complications, they're shared rather than one-sided." "Where would you like to meet?" "There's a small Italian restaurant in Franklin called Stella's. The owner, Maria Santos, doesn't tolerate prejudiced behavior, so it's a safe space for unconventional couples." "Unconventional couples?" "Interracial couples. Couples from different social classes. Basically, anyone who doesn't fit the traditional mold." As Lily drove away, Gideon realized he was more excited about Thursday's dinner than he'd been about anything social in months. He was also aware that pursuing a relationship with Lily would likely intensify whatever resistance he faced from certain community members. But watching her gracefully handle loss, work multiple jobs to maintain her independence, and still show kindness to a stranger had made Gideon realize that some people were worth whatever complications their presence brought to your life. Thursday evening couldn't come soon enough. Stella's Italian restaurant was exactly as Lily had described. Small, family-owned, and filled with the kind of warm atmosphere that made everyone feel welcome, regardless of their background. Owner Maria Santos greeted both Gideon and Lily by name, seating them at a corner table that offered privacy for conversation. "You've been here before," Gideon observed as they settled into their seats. "Elizabeth and I used to have lunch here once a month. Maria's family immigrated from Sicily in the 1980s. So she understands what it's like to be an outsider in a close-knit community. And now you're here with another kind of outsider. Are you an outsider? Or are you just someone the community hasn't gotten to know yet? As they ordered dinner, homemade pasta with Maria's signature sauce, their conversation flowed naturally from the farmhouse renovation to their respective backgrounds and experiences. "Tell me about your technology company," Lily said. "What exactly does Hayes Digital Solutions do?" "We help traditional businesses transition to digital operations, everything from updating computer systems to implementing artificial intelligence for improved efficiency." That sounds incredibly complex. It can be, but it's also rewarding to help family businesses modernize without losing their personal touch. Is that why you're interested in farming? Combining traditional land use with modern methods? Partly, but mostly I'm interested in farming because it's real, tangible work that produces something essential rather than just profitable. Have you ever actually farmed before? Gideon laughed. Not unless you count a small herb garden on my penthouse balcony in Nashville. So you're planning to learn as you go? I'm planning to learn from people who've been doing it their whole lives. People like Wade Collins, if he's willing to teach a city newcomer. Wade's a good farmer and a decent man, but he's also set in his ways about social hierarchies, meaning he might not be comfortable teaching a black man, meaning he might need time to get past his assumptions about who deserves his respect and knowledge. Their conversation was interrupted when Richard and Patricia Palmer entered the restaurant with another couple. Patricia Palmer was an elegant woman in her 50s who carried herself with the authority of someone accustomed to being the most important person in any room. "Oh my," Lily murmured, noticing the new arrivals. "Problem? That's the family I clean house for. They're going to have questions about seeing me here on a dinner date." Richard Palmer noticed Lily immediately and approached their table with obvious curiosity and barely concealed displeasure. "Lily, what a surprise to see you here." "Hello, Mr. Palmer. Mrs. Palmer." Patricia Palmer's gaze shifted between Lily and Gideon with obvious assessment and disapproval. "And who is your companion?" "This is Gideon Hayes." "Gideon, Richard, and Patricia Palmer." "Mr. Hayes." Richard extended his hand with professional courtesy that didn't extend to warmth. "You're the gentleman who bought the old Brennan place." "That's right. Your company submitted a bid for the renovation work." "Indeed we did. I was surprised when you chose a smaller contractor over our more established firm. I chose the contractor whose vision best matched my goals for the property." Patricia Palmer had been studying Gideon during this exchange, clearly calculating his net worth and social status. "What line of work are you in, Mr. Hayes?" "Technology consulting. I run a digital solutions company based in Nashville." "How interesting. And you and Lily are having dinner," Lily interjected, before Patricia could finish her intrusive question. "Of course. Well, we don't want to interrupt your dinner." Patricia's tone suggested she had strong opinions about what she was witnessing. After the Palmers moved to their own table, Lily looked uncomfortable. "That was awkward," she said. "Are you worried about their reaction?" "I'm worried about what this means for my employment with them." Patricia Palmer has very specific ideas about appropriate behavior for her employees. "What kinds of ideas?" "That people who work for her should maintain social boundaries that reflect well on her family's reputation. And having dinner with me reflects poorly on their reputation." "In Patricia's mind? Yes. Then maybe you need better employers." "Gideon, it's not that simple. I need that job. The Palmer family pays better than anyone else in the county, and the work is steady. What if there were other employment options? Better options? Like what?" "Like managing the administrative side of a sustainable farming operation, marketing local produce to restaurants and farmers market, coordinating educational programs about sustainable agriculture." Lily stared at him with growing realization. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm exploring whether your interests and skills might align with business opportunities I'm considering." "What kinds of business opportunities?" "Converting part of the 47 acres into a demonstration farm for sustainable agriculture, offering workshops and educational programs, creating a farm-to-table operation that supplies local restaurants." "That sounds wonderful, but also incredibly ambitious and expensive. I have the capital to invest in something meaningful. The question is whether I have the right partner to help make it successful." "Partner?" "Someone who understands this community, has agricultural knowledge, and shares a vision for sustainable land use that honors the property's history." "Gideon, are you seriously offering me a business partnership?" "I'm seriously exploring the possibility. You know this land. You understand its history, and you've demonstrated the kind of integrity and work ethic that makes for a good business partner. But we barely know each other. We know enough. I know you're dedicated, honest, hardworking, and genuinely care about this community. You know I'm financially stable, committed to the property, and interested in creating something meaningful rather than just profitable. As they discussed the possibilities over dessert, Lily's excitement became increasingly evident, but so did her caution about moving too quickly into business or personal relationships. Gideon, can I be completely honest about something? Always. I'm attracted to you in ways that have nothing to do with business opportunities or financial security. That's refreshing honesty. But I'm also scared. Scared of getting involved with someone I could lose. Scared of the social complications. Scared of making mistakes that could hurt both of us. Those are all legitimate concerns. What are your concerns? That I'm more interested in you than is probably wise for someone I've known less than 2 weeks. That pursuing a relationship with you will complicate my integration into this community. That I might not be emotionally ready for the kind of real partnership you deserve. And despite those concerns, I want to find out what we could build together. As they prepared to leave the restaurant, Maria Santos approached their table with a warm smile. How was everything tonight? Excellent, as always, Lily replied. Good. And Mr. Hayes, welcome to our community. I hope you'll become a regular customer. Thank you. The food was incredible. More importantly, you make Lily smile. She hasn't smiled like this in years. Outside the restaurant, as they prepared to part ways, Gideon took Lily's hand with gentle seriousness. Lily, I know we're both cautious about moving too fast, but I want you to know that everything I discussed tonight, the business partnership, the sustainable farming operation, building something meaningful together, I meant all of it, even if it complicates your life in this community. Especially if it complicates my life. The best things are usually complicated. What happens now? Now we take things one day at a time and see what develops naturally. As Lily drove home, she realized she felt more hopeful about the future than she had since Michael's death. But she also understood that choosing to explore a relationship with Gideon would challenge every social convention in their conservative community. For the first time in 3 years, Lily thought that challenge might be worth taking. Word of Lily and Gideon's dinner spread through the community with a speed that only small-town gossip could achieve. By Monday morning, their evening at Stella's had been discussed, analyzed, and judged by neighbors who felt entitled to opinions about other people's personal lives. The first consequence arrived in the form of a phone call to Lily from Patricia Palmer. Lily, we need to discuss your employment situation. Is there a problem with my work quality, Mrs. Palmer? Your work quality is fine, but your social associations are becoming problematic. I'm not sure what you mean. I think you know exactly what I mean. The Palmer family has a reputation to maintain in this community. We can't have employees whose personal choices reflect poorly on our family values. My personal life is separate from my professional responsibilities, not when you're publicly dating men who don't share our community's traditional values. Lily felt anger building at the racist implications of Patricia's statement. What traditional values are you referring to? You know perfectly well what I'm referring to. Lily, you're a smart girl from a good family. You don't need to make choices that damage your reputation and ours. I'm a grown woman who makes my own choices about who I spend time with based on character rather than skin color. Then you'll need to find employment with someone who shares your progressive views. Your services are no longer needed. After Patricia hung up, Lily sat in her small apartment, processing the reality that her largest source of income had just been eliminated because she'd had dinner with a black man. Meanwhile, Gideon was experiencing his own community reaction. Wade Collins appeared at the farmhouse with his son Brett, both clearly agitated about recent developments. Hayes, we need to talk, Wade announced without preamble. Of course. What's on your mind? What's on my mind is you stirring up trouble in our community. What kind of trouble? Brett stepped forward aggressively. The kind of trouble that comes from outsiders who don't respect local customs and social boundaries. I'm not sure what you're referring to. We're referring to you dating Lily Brennan, Wade said bluntly. That girl's been through enough without you taking advantage of her vulnerable situation. Taking advantage? How? Rich man, poor widow. You figure it out. Actually, I think you should explain what you mean by that. Wade studied Gideon's calm response with growing frustration. Look, I don't have anything personal against you. But this community has certain expectations about social relationships, and crossing those boundaries causes problems for everyone. What kinds of problems? The kind that make life uncomfortable for people who don't have the resources to pick up and leave when things get difficult. Are you threatening me, Mr. Collins? I'm advising you. Some folks around here have strong feelings about preserving traditional community values. And what are traditional community values? Brett answered with obvious hostility. Values that keep outsiders from coming in and changing everything that's worked for generations. What has my presence changed besides improving an abandoned property? You're changing the social dynamics, making people uncomfortable with your unconventional choices. Gideon felt his patience wearing thin with the coded racism disguised as concern for community stability. Let me be very clear about something. I bought this property legally, I've renovated it respectfully, and I've attempted to be a good neighbor. If my presence makes some people uncomfortable, that says more about their prejudices than about my behavior. And what about Lily? Wade asked. You thought about what this association might cost her? What do you mean? I mean, Patricia Palmer fired her this morning for dating you. Girls lost her biggest source of income because you decided to pursue someone you had no business pursuing. The news hit Gideon like a physical blow. His relationship with Lily had indeed cost her employment, just as he'd feared. I wasn't aware of that. Well, now you are. Question is, what are you going to do about it? After the Collins men left, Gideon immediately called Lily, who confirmed that she'd been fired from her position with the Palmer family. I'm so sorry, Gideon said. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid. It's not your fault. Patricia Palmer's prejudice is her responsibility, not yours, but it's affecting your livelihood. That makes it my concern. Gideon, I knew this might happen when I agreed to have dinner with you. I made that choice with open eyes. What will you do now? Find other cleaning clients. Pick up extra shifts at the hospital. I'll manage. What if you didn't have to manage? What if there was a better option? What do you mean? I mean, what if we moved forward with the business partnership we discussed? What if I offered you a full-time position managing the sustainable farming operation? You're offering me a job because I lost my other job. I'm offering you a partnership because I believe we could build something important together. The timing is unfortunate, but the opportunity is real. Gideon, I don't want to be your charity case. You're not charity. You're the person who knows this land, understands this community, and has the integrity to help me create something meaningful. And you're sure this isn't just guilt about the Palmer situation? I'm sure this is about building something with someone I respect and care about. That afternoon, Dr. Jennifer Martinez, Lily's supervisor at the medical center, called with concerning news. Lily, I need to give you a heads up about some pressure the hospital is receiving. What kind of pressure? Pressure from major donors who have concerns about staff members whose personal lives might reflect poorly on the hospital's community standing. Are you firing me too? No, but I'm being asked to monitor your performance very closely and document any issues that might justify employment changes. Because I had dinner with Gideon Hayes? Because some influential community members believe your association with him demonstrates poor judgment that could affect your professional responsibilities. That's ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but it's also reality in a conservative community where major donors have strong opinions about social boundaries. That evening, Lily walked to the cemetery to visit Elizabeth's grave, seeking the comfort and guidance she'd always found in those quiet moments among the oak trees. Elizabeth, I'm in love, she said aloud, addressing the simple headstone, and it's causing problems I don't know how to handle. As if in response to her words, Gideon appeared among the trees, carrying a small bouquet of flowers. I hope you don't mind, he said. I wanted to pay my respects to the woman who raised such an extraordinary daughter-in-law. She would have liked you, Lily said with certainty. Elizabeth believed people should be judged by their character and kindness. What would she tell you to do about our situation? She'd tell me to follow my heart and not let other people's fear make my decisions for me. And what is your heart telling you? That I'm falling in love with you despite every rational reason to protect myself from more loss and heartbreak. And what are the rational reasons? The social opposition, the employment consequences, the fact that we've known each other for less than a month. What about the irrational reasons to take a chance on us? The way you make me laugh, the way you see possibilities instead of just problems, the way you treat this land and my memories with such respect. Lily, I have a proposition. What kind of proposition? Move in with me, not just romantically, but as my business partner. Help me create the sustainable farming operation we discussed. Build something together that proves love and business success don't have to follow traditional social boundaries. That would certainly get the community talking. Let them talk. What matters is what we build together. And if we fail, if the business doesn't work, if the community opposition becomes too intense, if we discover we're not compatible as partners, then we'll have failed trying to create something meaningful instead of succeeding at maintaining the status quo. Looking out over the land where she'd grown up, married her first love, and buried her family, Lily realized that staying safe had cost her 3 years of loneliness and limited opportunities. Yes, she said simply. Yes to moving in. Yes to the business partnership, or yes to all of it. Yes to all of it. Yes to building something beautiful with you, despite whatever complications arise. When Gideon kissed her among the oak trees where her family rested, Lily understood that some kinds of love were worth fighting for, regardless of the cost. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. We want to know what you think. The first annual Willow Creek Sustainable Agriculture Fair drew visitors from across Tennessee, transforming Gideon and Lily's demonstration farm into a celebration of environmentally conscious farming methods, local food production, and community cooperation. I can't believe how many people showed up, Lily said to Gideon as they surveyed the crowds, examining educational displays, sampling organic produce, and watching demonstrations of composting techniques and renewable energy applications. Your marketing strategy worked perfectly, Gideon replied, watching families participate in hands-on learning activities that Lily had designed to make sustainable agriculture accessible and exciting. Their business partnership had exceeded every expectation. Lily's knowledge of local agriculture, combined with Gideon's business acumen and investment capital, had created a thriving operation that supplied organic produce to restaurants throughout Middle Tennessee, while providing educational programs for schools and community groups. More importantly, their personal relationship had deepened into the kind of partnership that made both of them better than they'd been separately. Mr. Hayes, Miss Lily, a group of elementary school children ran toward them, excited to share what they'd learned during their field trip to the farm's educational center. We learned how to make compost, 8-year-old Emma Rodriguez announced proudly. And we saw the solar panels that power the greenhouse, added her classmate Tyler Johnson. Dr. Jennifer Martinez, who'd accompanied the school group as a volunteer, approached with obvious admiration for what Lily and Gideon had accomplished. This is incredible, she told them. You've created something that's educational, economically viable, and environmentally beneficial. The whole community is talking about it. Positive talking, we hope, Lily said with a smile. Mostly positive. Even some of your initial critics have come around once they saw the positive impact on the local economy. It was true. Wade Collins had become one of their strongest supporters after seeing how their sustainable farming methods had improved soil quality and crop yields on his adjacent property. Even Richard Palmer had inquired about potential construction contracts for expanding their facilities. Any word from the university extension program about the research partnership? Gideon asked Jennifer. They're very interested. Dr. Rachel Thompson from the agricultural department wants to establish formal research plots here to study sustainable farming techniques. As the fair continued, Lily found herself reflecting on how completely her life had transformed since that nervous morning when she'd knocked on Gideon's door to ask about visiting Elizabeth's grave. That evening, after the last visitors had departed and the cleanup was complete, Lily and Gideon walked to the family cemetery, where they'd shared their first honest conversation about building a life together. Elizabeth, we did it, Lily said to the headstone, as she did during every visit. We built something beautiful on this land you loved. Any regrets? Gideon asked as they stood among the oak trees. About which part? The business, the relationship, or defying community expectations? Any of it. All of it. None. What about you? My only regret is that it took a fallen tree and an abandoned farmhouse to bring us together. I wish I'd found you sooner. We found each other exactly when we were supposed to, Lily said with the certainty that came from having learned to trust life's unexpected timing. As they walked back toward the farmhouse, now truly home for both of them, Gideon paused to pull a small velvet box from his pocket. Speaking of timing, he said, dropping to one knee in the place where they'd first admitted their feelings for each other. Gideon, Lily Brennan, you've made me believe in love that transcends social boundaries, partnership that combines passion with purpose, and the possibility of building something meaningful with someone extraordinary. Will you marry me? Yes, she said without hesitation. Yes to marrying you. Yes to continuing to build our life together. Yes to whatever adventures await us. The engagement ring sparkled in the moonlight as Gideon slipped it onto her finger. But what mattered most to both of them was the promise it represented. That love really could overcome prejudice. That partnership could be both personal and professional. And that sometimes the most meaningful relationships began with the simplest acts of kindness. Their wedding 6 months later was held in the meadow behind the farmhouse, with guests that included everyone from Nashville tech executives to local farming families, proving that community could be defined by shared values rather than shared backgrounds. Maria Santos catered the reception with food grown on Lily and Gideon's farm. Wade Collins provided the flowers from his wife's garden, and even Dr. Jennifer Martinez served as Lily's maid of honor, representing the professional life that had grown to support rather than threaten their relationship. But the most meaningful moment came when Patricia Palmer approached during the reception to offer an unexpected apology. Lily, I was wrong about you and Gideon. What you've built here is remarkable, and I'm sorry it took me so long to see past my own prejudices. Thank you, Patricia. That means a lot. Would you consider me for cleaning services again? I promise to be a better employer this time. Actually, I'm completely booked with the farm business now, but I'd be happy to recommend some other excellent cleaning services. As Patricia walked away, Gideon smiled at the irony of his wife being too successful to return to the job she'd lost for dating him. Any thoughts about what comes next? He asked as they danced to their first song as husband and wife. More of everything we've started. Expanding the farm, growing the educational programs, maybe adding some children to our family. Children. Elizabeth always said this land needed children's laughter to truly come alive again. Looking out over the farm they'd built together, the community they'd helped create, and the family they were just beginning, Gideon understood that the best love stories weren't about finding someone perfect. They were about finding someone worth building perfection with, one challenge and one triumph at a time. Their story had begun with an abandoned farmhouse and a widow's request to visit her family's graves. It had grown into proof that love could overcome prejudice, that partnership could thrive despite social opposition, and that sometimes the most meaningful success came from building something beautiful together rather than climbing hierarchies alone. And in the land where multiple generations had built their dreams, Lily and Gideon were creating a legacy that honored the past while building toward a more inclusive and sustainable future.